secret use to painting good NMM. Hello fellow Herders of Blue, and welcome to my channel, and also welcome to another NMM tutorial. And in this NMM video I'm going to show you how to paint copper. So let's get cracking. As you can see, we're starting from a base coat of scrap brown, and as always with NMM I'm going to start sketching my highlights, and I will always think about 4 sources of light, one on each corner of the mini, and for our first highlight I'm going to use bestic or flesh. So I will more or less sketch what I want to make. So this will be the highlight hitting from this corner. I will refine this later on with glazes, but this is just a way to place our highlights, just to see if we are in the correct spot, and also and this is very important, so we make sure we don't run out of space when highlighting, because you just start from the darkest color that you can. Then when you start placing your highlights, you will find out that you are basically running out of space to get up to pure white, and that can be a very common issue when painting NMM. With that first highlight done, I'm now going to smooth all those hard edges. For this I'm going to glaze using scrap brown. You can see the consistency of the scrap brown there, and I will just apply this scrap brown on the edges of the border between the bestic or flesh and the scrap brown, and I'm moving my brush from the bestic or flesh into the scrap brown, just like that. I'm doing it this way because when I move the brush that way, more paint will deposit where I end the brush stroke, leaving more of the glaze in the scrap brown region and less on the bestic or flesh, creating a smoother transition. You can see, for example, here our first glaze is now dry, and I will apply a second one, and I will keep on applying these glazes until I am happy with the transition. With that glazing done, our transitions are looking much better, but I want to refine them even more, and I also take the opportunity to reclaim back some of those highlights. So I'm taking a glaze of bestic or flesh, again more or less the same consistency as before, and I am going to apply the glaze in the opposite direction. So this time I am going to move from the scrap brown into the bestic or flesh. If I'm happy with the transition, I may not do as many layers, just maybe 1 or 2 to refine, but if on areas that I'm not happy with, I will probably apply more so I can dial the reflections and the highlights where I want them to be. With the first stage of highlights now done, I'm now going to move into shading everything, and the reasoning behind that is because I will edge highlight everything in the next step of highlights, so I need all my shadows present. So I'm going to start with Tumble Brown, again thin down to the same glaze consistency more or less, And I'm going to apply this from the highlights and into the shadows. So you see I'm moving my brush from the highlights into the shadows, again from the highlights into the shadows. That way more Dumble brown will deposit there, creating a smoother gradient. We'll also drop this around rivets and into any recesses. Our shadows with Dumble brown are now finished, and now I'm going to shade this one more step, and for this I'm going to use something a bit weird. It's a mix of 1 part Rhinox Hide and 1 part Ink by Darkness. Again, this is thinned down to a glaze consistency. And I'm going to apply this as my darkest shadow. And why do I use Ink by Darkness for my shadows? Well, I kind of want that coldness in the shadows, and that slight bluish green tone fits copper really well. It kind of reminds you of oxidation, which copper oxidizes really easily and fast, and will provide a really nice contrast that you can see there. And with that shadow out of the way, I'm going to take pure Ink by Darkness and do my final shadow. This will be really subtle, and I will just apply it in the very darkest parts. Just a tiny dot of this. With that last shadow done, I will actually finish the other leg later. I'm going to finish highlighting our copper, and for that I'm going to take Vallejo model color Sunny Skin Tone, which is a fantastic color for this, and I tried to look for a Citadel alternative, but there isn't any really. And first of all I'm going to edge highlight everything here. If you positively don't want to use Vallejo for some reason, maybe you can't find it and Citadel is the only paint you can find, I would probably go for a 1-to-1 mix of Lugganath Orange and Dawn Yellow for this step. I think that more or less will give you something similar to this. Maybe add a bit of white onto that mix. And on top of that edge highlight, I will also highlight with a glaze. Oh, that is way too much. Like that. All the highlighting areas. I will also take, again, this sunny skin tone, and I will do the secondary reflections with this. What are secondary reflections? Well, like this one here, I'm going to place a highlight of this, or line of this, in the deepest shadows, or where I feel light will reflect from other surfaces. For example, down there. And with that highlight done, I'm going to move into the last step, and this will be a final highlight with pure white. You could actually stop here if you don't want a really polished look, but if you want something that looks really shiny and polished, this is the last step. So I'm going to take pure white, and I'm just going to do very small dots of this into the highlights we just did with sunny skin tone. And also in the secondary reflections, especially in those here, I'm going to do a very small dot of this inside those. And with that last step done and the other leg painted, our copper NMM is finished. And I'm extremely proud of this one. This is probably my best, to me at least, my best NMM work in one of the most difficult metals to replicate. But I really think it looks like copper. So, I really hope you enjoyed this one. I really hope you learned something new. And I'll catch you in the next one. Bye. Do you like my videos and want to help me make them? Well, there are several ways you can do that. You can follow me on social media. You have the links to all my social media in the description below. You can also check out my affiliate links in the pinned comment of this video. Use those links in your next hobby purchase and help me without any additional cost to you. I also have merch that you can see just below this video or in the shop tab of my channel. But most importantly, there is Patreon and channel members. You have the link to my Patreon in the description below and in the pinned comment of the video. Or if you prefer, you can just click the join button just below this video. Patreon and channel members help me do all the cool projects that I want to make and help me improve the quality of my videos. Don't be afraid, no content will ever be hidden behind a paywall, but it's a nice way to help me. You will get something back for your generosity. As I said, guys, thank you very much for watching, and a special thank you to Ben Morin, Daniel Figueiredo, Victor Domen, Michael Boye, Christophe Moret, Joshua Bohannon, Ryan Mann, Beldrain, Javi Mota, Kevin Sulas, Kieran O'Murthail, Leonard Lindemann, Jonathan Ekelum, Dr. B, GeForce, Elric Edge, Sasha Park, JT Butler, Manuel Vilela, Joe Simpson, Dominic Trevizo, Richard Kielkowski, Mark Jarvis, Gareth Smith, Bill Caswar, Mateo De Rienzo, Aaron Dell, and Notius Maximus for being the coolest persons in the planet. Be like these fine folks, show my Patreon, and take control.